Welcome, and thank you for tuning in to Black Women Amplified, the podcast. Your host, Monica Wisdom Tyson, brings you downloadable conversations that matter to women around the globe. We discuss all things Black girl magic, amplify our voices, and transform our challenges into triumphs. Monica calls on her league of extraordinary women to push our boundaries, share their expertise, and stories of personal transformation. Welcome your host of Black Women Amplified, Monica Wisdom Tyson.
Hello, Black Women Amplified family. It is your girl, Monica Wisdom, and I am so excited that you're here with us today. We have another powerful conversation with an incredible woman that I can't wait for you to meet. But before we get into the conversation, I just have one quick question. How are you doing? How are things in your world? It is blistery wind that you might hear in the background around here. I live in the Midwest, and sometimes it sounds like the whiz. We have had some crazy weather as we do. Spring shows up, and before the flowers bloom, the winds and the rains come in. But I'm safe, I'm sound, I'm dry, and today the sun is shining, so it's a good day. Before we get into the introduction of our amazing guest, I want to remind you that we have a new renovated, I'm calling it renovated because it is our house, honey. We have a new renovated website, www.blackwomenamplified.com, and it is an expanded mission as well as new offerings. You can find out about our journals and our master classes, as well as our blog, which is called Chrysalis, because this show is all about transformation, baby. And so Chrysalis is our blog where we will house more information about our fantastic guests, as well as news and information about what's going on with Black Women Amplified. And, just some of my thoughts. And sometimes I have some really interesting thoughts. So let's get into this introduction because this conversation is power-packed, so power-packed, it's going to be 2 episodes. So make sure that you check out both parts because I'm telling you, our guest today is phenomenal and you don't want to miss a bit of what she has to say. So if you are driving, you're at lunch, you're dropping off the kids, doing what you do, jogging in the park, know to come back next week for part 2. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to Miss Sita Lewis. Sita Lewis is a dynamic woman who has created a life for herself that is resilient and determined and full of faith and promise. And I tell you what, if you have seen these blue jars called Mama Sita Miracle Buttercream, we have the founder, creator, and CEO with us today. But she didn't start off as the queen of skincare. Sita started off as a trailblazing television industry producer, having produced award-winning shows including Teen Summit and BET News. She has also produced syndicated television shows such as The Ananda Lewis Show, The Bethany Frankel Show, and the legendary Showtime at the Apollo. Her passion for cooking led her to become a culinary television producer, working with celebrity chefs and home expert Martha Stewart. Also, this led her to appear as the finalist in the network food reality competition show, Food Network Stars Season 11. But Sita's journey took a turn when her father passed, legendary boxing promoter Butch Lewis. She found herself having to rebuild her life again from scratch. During this time, she began working with New York City youth as a culinary educator. Noticing that the kids needed treatment for the eczema on their skin, she developed a healing cream that eventually became the foundation of the Mama Sita Miracle Buttercream, which she has built into a $1 million empire. Let me tell you what, she has built this company from the ground up, and she's going to tell us all about it. Sita's resilience and innovation is inspiring to so many people. So let me tell you, join me as we honor Miss Sita Lewis's journey of faith and determination. She shares her insights about her career, her phenomenal career, entrepreneurship, and so much more. Listen, this is a show, you might take some notes. You're going to come back to it because she's dropping all the gems in the safe. And I'm telling you, I walked away with such inspiration. Like I said, 2 parts. I was so engaged in this conversation, I forgot what time it was. So 2 parts, 2 weeks, all the things. Tune in, share with your friends, subscribe so you don't miss a beat. Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored and thrilled to present today Mama Sita herself, Sita Lewis. Good afternoon, Black Women Amplified. We have a very special guest in the building, and I can't wait for you to meet her. We're going to have a conversation about her life, her story, and her incredible product. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss Sita Lewis. Miss Lewis, how are you today?
Hi, Monica. I'm great. Thank you. And I thank you for having me. We're having beautiful weather out here in New York. It's sunny. It's warm for this time in April. So we can't be mad today. We're very excited. So
it is beautiful and sunny here in St. Louis, which could change in the next 5 hours.
You know what's funny? One of my best friends is from St. Louis. And when you started talking,
I sound just like her.
She sounds like Veronica. Like she lives in Dubai now,
okay.
And she's she's an amazing lady. You might want to interview her yourself. She spearheads Mutombo Coffee, Dikembe Mutombo's coffee, and she was my roommate at Georgetown. And when you first started talking, I said, "Wait a minute, I know that accent." She's actually from East St. Louis, but I believe it's like the same area.
Yes, it's actually
it might be a different state, but it's the same area.
Exactly. Yeah, it's literally across the river. So when you cross the bridge from downtown St. Louis,
right.
East St. Louis is right there. So I know her very well. Yes, she came from the same place of Miles Davis and some great artists. She has a powerful story. She's from East St. Louis and is in Dubai. That's amazing.
And she lives in Dubai, yes. And she runs Dikembe Mutombo's coffee company from Dubai, and his coffee is made in Congo, in Africa. Wow. So it's a global company that she's running. Yeah.
Oh, I would love to talk to her, especially a homegirl.
Yeah, but we started at I was going to say we started at Georgetown together. So I've known her since I was 17, and we still talk almost every other day.
Wow. I'm sure you both have lots of stories to share.
Yes. And I've never been to Dubai, but I am so looking forward to making a trip out there.
Now, wait a minute.
I haven't
now,
been.
Wait a minute.
You know what's crazy? She went out there right around the time when I started Miracle Buttercream. And every year I say, this is going to be the year that I come out and visit you. And the business is growing and it's getting busier and busier and busier, which we'll talk about. But I just haven't, I have to be intentional and make time to make that trip because she wants to bring the products to Dubai. So, you know,
ma'am, if you don't book a ticket by the end of this week, because you know that's where the money is, especially for Black folks.
I know. That's what she keeps telling me. And, you know, I'm finally, you know, I believe in the right timing for everything.
Yes.
And, you know, I'm a woman of faith, and it just seems like God opens the doors exactly when they need to be opened for me and Miracle Buttercream. And so I'm blessed. I know that when I finally do get out to visit Veronica, and I have shipped her boatloads of product. And one beautiful thing is that I know that it ends up in Dubai in perfect condition. So that's a good thing. One time, Will Smith was producing a movie out in Dubai, and I'm not trying to brag, but his brother, who was working with him summer, which was last summer, he called me on a Monday and said, Sita, we need Miracle Buttercream. We need at least 6 to 10 large jars, and we need them by Wednesday. Can you make that happen? And I said, yeah, of course. We ship worldwide. And he had them in his hand by Wednesday morning. So we don't play when it comes to getting our products anywhere in the world. And we've even had customers. I think the farthest we've had was Indonesia. We've had orders come in, and I said, wait a minute, Indonesia? Is that correct? I was like, okay, somebody over there heard about Miracle Buttercream. Let's get it popping.
And you know what's interesting? That's when you know a product is good, because places like Indonesia and Asia, they have like their water is not processed like our water. So they don't necessarily have the dryness that we have here in America. So I've been a customer, and I know that your products have healing properties in them. I don't know if it's the miracle in it or what it is.
Bit of both.
But there's a little extra in your product. And I say that as somebody who's a beauty professional. I was a cosmetologist for 35 years. So working for some of the biggest brands, I know the difference in products and quality and fillers and all those things. So when I used your products, I was like, no, wait a minute. And another thing is I have very sensitive skin. So I'm very careful about putting butters on my face. And this is the first butter product I've used that my face didn't break out.
Oh, absolutely.
Like somebody beat me up.
Yeah, it's so amazing where I was vending in New York City one day. And there was this girl that was in the booth next to me. She was selling hot sauce. And I remember having a conversation with her, and she said, I have been in search for a product that I can actually put on my face. And this was a white girl. She had rosacea. She had all kinds. She said, I have never been able to put a moisturizer on my face in my life. And she was in her 30s. So I said, okay, well, why don't we do this? You give me a bottle of your hot sauce, and I'll give you a jar of my Miracle Buttercream. We traded products, and she emailed me later and said this was the first time that she was able to put a product on her face. And she used our unscented, which has no essential oils, nothing that could potentially cause any irritation. And she said she cannot believe how amazing it made her skin on her face. So that makes me feel good that I do have a product that when we say you can use it from head to toe, it's really from head to toe. And some people can use the scented versions on their face. Like me, I don't have real sensitive skin on my face. So I can actually use the Moroccan sun or the rose water. I love using rose water or lavender before I go to bed. My husband just likes the smell of that before I come to bed. But some people that have
so really it's sexy too.
Yeah, we always recommend the unscented for the face, just because people like to put it around their eyes and moisturize their eyelashes and their eyebrows, which will, I'm telling you, the product is so amazing, and it helps with hair growth too, that it will help your eyelashes and eyebrows grow and become thicker. And if you're like me and you're in your 50s, it might cause hair to grow in other places on your face that you're not too excited about. Okay, but that's why they have tweezers, because you can just pop those suckers out.
I actually use the mango. I use it on my face, and I haven't had any problems.
Oh, okay, good.
And that's I'm telling you, I've used, being in the beauty industry, you get an array of products that you have available to you. And I have used some $200 and $300 moisturizers on my face, and I will break out.
Yeah. Sometimes it's not about the price. It's really about the quality of the ingredients. And I am such a perfectionist, and I am also very into very high quality. I have a dog, and I won't even feed my dog like dog food from the shelf because I just don't believe that it's healthy enough.
Mm-hmm.
So I make my own dog's dog food. And I always say, if I can't give something to a friend or to my own pet, I wouldn't use what I wouldn't use on myself with someone else. And so that's where the products were actually born, because I was going through some financial difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
I, grew up in a pretty affluent environment, a neighborhood community, but I was raised by my dad who really was raised with no college education. He pretty much came from the streets and became like a self-made entrepreneur, millionaire. And, so he never allowed us to forget where he came from. Okay.
Right.
Like every time he did something, like, we went on vacations and different things, he would always remind us, this ain't regular. Okay. You got to understand that this is not regular here.
Mm-hmm.
So I, when he passed away in 2011, I was like forced to help work on some family affairs that were legal battles, and it put me out of work for like 2 years. And when I tried to come back to the television industry after being gone for 2 years, I literally couldn't get a job. And so my spending habits started to have to slowly change. I was buying like the best, the highest, most expensive, good quality natural products that they sold on the market. But then all of a sudden I was like, oh, I better start making my own, and I would buy a little bit of this butter and a little bit of that. And I would come up with ways to mix it at home without using heat, and one day my girlfriend offered me a job, and it was not like the glamorous job that I was used to working at at NBC or CBS or BET like I used to. And I was working in the basement, a school in Harlem by the name of Harlem Children's Zone. And I was working in one of the after school programs teaching culinary.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in that basement during that time of my life where I began to serve other people in a whole different capacity, that God opened up this door for me. So I was exposed to all these kids that had allergies, eczema, you name it, from head to toe. And I said, you know what, guys, we're not going to make a recipe this week that we can eat. Okay. Even though my products are so good, you can almost eat them.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, we're going to make a skincare product because I want to see y'all skin change. This is not good to see y'all scratching your neck every week and your hands looking so beat down. And it's really the eczema. The hands weren't beat down. It was just the eczema that was just like plaguing their skin. And so we made the product, and it was during a Christmas holiday break. We were getting ready to go on December of 2016. I'll never forget. They came back from the Christmas break and said, Miss Sita, look at my arm, or look at my knee, or look at my neck. And the eczema was gone. It shocked me. I was like, whoa.
And it says a lot, because winter is really the worst time for skin because there's no moisture in the air.
Right. And so the kids really said, Miss Sita, you should sell this. I was like, okay, y'all are crazy. I've never been exposed to retail, being on this side of retail as the seller. I've been exposed as the buyer.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't have an Instagram page for my product. I had a personal page, but it wasn't really popping like that. And they literally showed me like how to do everything. And it was someone in the school who showed me an e-commerce website. I said, wait a minute, you can actually collect money from people online through their credit card without like spending $100,000 on a website. And they were like, yeah, the website is like free. And I said, what? And so they set it up for me. And then we started taking pictures, and I just saw it as a hobby, as a side thing. And my first big order was the school. The school had purchased enough jars to give to the whole senior class of the 2017 graduating seniors.
Oh, wow.
And I said, that was my first experience, like selling something and, getting money in exchange and going, oh, okay, well, I could take this money and I can put it back and into the business and buy some more supplies. And I just kept doing that. And by March of that year, 2017, I had a website up and running that I had built, and everything was up and running. And I was like really moving product out of my house, out of my kitchen. Mm-hmm. And then it turned to the basement. And before you know it, it was just like, oh my gosh, my whole house is being taken over by this product, which is good because I was still working at the school. I was getting that check. But I mean, I literally almost lost my house because I had to get my mortgage modified because I went from probably making like $15,000 a month, from television to more like $2,000 a month. And how do you survive off of that in New York? You had to pivot and change. And it was just like God was just opening up one door after another, one door after another. And I had to make a decision so fast by August of 2017. Am I going to come back and teach? I had already been there for, at that point, it was 4 years. Mm-hmm. So I had been there for 4 years. So I was out of work for 2 years. I started working at Harlem Children's Zone for 4 years. And then I had to make a decision to walk away and decide if I'm going to build this business. And I was turning 50 in 2017. Mm-hmm. So that's another portion of my story. I was literally, like feeling like, is it too late for me? But, when you're in the midst of it, you don't feel old. So you feel like, well, it's just a number. Age is just a number.
I just turned 54 and when I was a kid, 50 seemed so old.
Right.
And now it's like, wait a minute, I could have another 50 years. Oh, let's go.
Yeah, you can start a whole career.
Yes, it's like, okay.
Be successful.
And then we have the opportunity at this age to write a whole new chapter for ourselves.
Yes, absolutely.
And Miracle Buttercream is your next chapter. But I want to go back a little bit further to your previous chapters, which was one, I wanted to know what it was like growing up in the Lewis household, because I don't remember your father, but my dad was a big boxing fan. So we watched Muhammad Ali. And of course, the Spinks brothers were from St. Louis.
Yes.
And to know that it was your dad that and I remember the Thriller in Manila, just remembering the name and watching it sitting next to my dad. So tell me about what was it like for you growing up in the Lewis household?
My dad is a brand all by himself. Okay. Anybody who knows or has heard of Butch Lewis, especially if they personally know him, he has a level of excellence that exceeds anything you have ever thought or imagined or wondered about. Like, so we were in the house with this man. I mean, we couldn't go to bed with dishes in the sink. We couldn't. And then another, sad part of my story was that my mother passed away when I was 12. So I had a dad who was not just present, but he was like, to me, he was over present. I was like, Dad, go away. Like, you're too much, and he would just get involved in everything that I did. And I appreciate it now, okay? Because now you look back and you hear about people who don't have that aspect of their lives. But I can appreciate how he would, like if I did dishes, he would inspect the dishes, like hold the glass up in the air and say, oh, I see fingerprints on here. And I mean, this man was not from the military. He just had a level of excellence for himself and for everything around him. He had a car. He would take care of that car and he would clean it and make sure it didn't get abused. And to this day, I actually have a Mercedes convertible that has 50,000 miles on it. It's a 2000. My dad bought it for me for my 35th birthday.
Oh, wow.
And it looks like it's brand new. Like, because I ended up like adopting that same level of excellence that he put in us. You know, I was the only girl. There was 5 kids and 6, including me. And so there was 6 kids in the house, and we all had duties to do the dishes. We had a chart on the refrigerator that said Sita's night, Ronnie's night, Kevin's night, Freddie's night, Sean's night, Brandon's night, right? So, and then the other person that wasn't doing the dishes had to dry the dishes and put the dishes away. So we were learning skills that we could use later in life that we didn't really know what he was doing it for. But he used to tell me, you're going to be a woman that has something to bring to the table. You're not just going to be, you know, educated, but you'll be able to cook, you'll be able to clean, you'll be able to be responsible. You know, so I turned into that person in everything that I did, you know, and I mean, I hated it. I used to think of different ways to manipulate my brothers to give, like, we only got $5 allowance, but my dad was so strict about where I would go that my brothers had cars before I did. So I would say, I'll give you my $5 if you take me downtown and drop me off at my cousin's house, and, you know, and tell dad that I'm at the church. And so, of course, like, I was trying to, and my brothers would do it because they wanted the money. And then I would be wherever I was going, and I didn't even have like any money. And I would be like, I'm just glad that I'm here, like hanging out, because there was this 7-Eleven in Delaware. We grew up in Delaware, and it was the 7-Eleven where all the teenagers used to hang out, just standing around doing nothing. Okay. And that obviously we know leads to trouble later on in life, but we thought it was innocent. And my dad was definitely not going to drop me off at no 7-Eleven.
No.
So I used to sneak to my cousin's house, and then her mom would be working, and she didn't really know like what we were doing. So we would just walk to the 7-Eleven, and we would just be hanging out, drinking Slurpees, hanging outside the 7-Eleven, waiting for people to drive up, you know, just stupid stuff. But at the end of the day, like, it was all those things growing up in the household that my dad put in me that I now apply to everything that I do in business. You know, I mean, the level of strict parenting was beyond what anybody could think or imagine. I remember I wanted to go to the prom, and around that time, Michael Spinks was the heavyweight champion of the world, and he was making jokes like, I'll take you to the prom. Like, dude, you're not taking me to the prom. That's embarrassing. And then he's like, well, your dad's not going to let anybody else take you to the prom. So I said, oh no, I'm going to the prom. I'm going to the prom. So I remember asking my dad, you know, hey, you know, I wanted to go to the prom. He said, didn't know, and I won't use the term that he used, asked me, can he take you? And I said, Dad, I'm not getting married here. A guy is not going to come knocking on our door asking you, can he take me to the prom? And he said, well, I guess he don't want to take you that bad. So you shouldn't even want to go with a guy like that. But everybody in Delaware was afraid of the man.
I mean,
needless to say, I did not go.
Oh,
I'm still kind of mad about that. Right. At 55 years old.
Your next birthday party is going to have to be a big old prom. Now, you talked about your work in television, and listen, you've made an impact on television. You created lifestyle TV before it was a thing, and you covered health, wellness, celebrity news, interviews with celebrities, as well as social issues. Why was it important to showcase such a wide array and a wide range of Black life on television at that time?
Well, I started working at BT in the very early 90s, and we had the certain shows that we were known for: Video Soul, Video LP, Rap City. People looked at BET like it was a music label. So I had the opportunity to produce one of the most amazing teen talk shows, and it was a live talk show. And I felt like this was our opportunity to show that Black teenagers have a voice. Not only do they have a voice, but they have intelligent things to say. It's not all about what they are watching in the music videos. So we would use the artists like Tupac and Biggie Smalls, and I remember, Usher, and all the artists that were the most popular artists. We would actually put them on our show to get kids to tune in. We would put them at the top of the show. We would have a top opening performance. We would have that middle performance, and we had a closing performance. Because back then you had to pull and reel kids in with music. And then BET was purchasing Vanguard Media, which was a company that owned Heart and Soul magazine. So I said, hey, why don't we drive the magazine sales by recreating the magazine as a TV show? And so that's when I actually came up with Heart and Soul. And I was the senior producer of Heart and Soul. And then we didn't have a big budget. So I had to have my producers double as correspondents. I was one of the correspondents. I had anybody that I could find in a crowd that was cute, can talk on TV. I just turn the cameras on and say, oh, you're my next correspondent. And they, so we had people working for very low pay, but they called me the barter queen. I was able to go to the Caribbean islands and use that as a backdrop so we wouldn't need a set. So you would see a lot of our episodes literally like in the Caribbean. I got to travel to all of the Caribbean islands, and experience that, and take my staff and other people that were on the show with me so they could experience that. And I just thought it was really important to show that we as Black people, we have a voice, we have talents, we have skills. We're amazing, but there wasn't enough programming on other networks that were showing the positive side. They were literally in the 90s, almost only showing, Blacks being involved in roles that were stereotypical, and a lot of, even today, Black actors will say, I'm not playing those roles because, and I'll miss out on some opportunities to make money, but I don't want to be portrayed in that light. And so I got to be exposed at a young age, where my dad would put on a fight and Oprah Winfrey would be sitting ringside. Back then, celebrities and boxing were synonymous. They went together. Like Robert De Niro would be sitting next to me at one of the fights. Sylvester Stallone, and even though he's known as, he's an actor, but he's known as a boxer because of all the roles. But I remember him sitting next to me at one of the fights. So I was exposed to all of these things, but I still had an opportunity to know and see Black people doing amazing things, but we wouldn't always see it on the screen. And in the small role that I felt like I played, I wanted to be able to showcase that, even Heart and Soul, that was an opportunity for us to even showcase Black businesses back then, Black female hairstylists. My stepmother was a cosmetologist, so I kind of grew up in a beauty salon too. I used to shampoo for years.
Oh, wow.
And so, and then I learned different hair skills and that kind of thing when I was a teenager. But really, we're so multifaceted and multi-talented, and we just needed more. There are more outlets now, but BET was one of those groundbreaking networks that now when you turn on BET, you don't just see music videos like it was back in the 90s. And it's nice to see original programming coming from that's like FUBU, for us, by us.
Right. Right.
And I even got to interview almost all the guys from the FUBU camp because they were trying to promote their t-shirts back then. And even Fat Farm, I remember when Fat Farm first came out and I was like, Fat Farm? I'm not a shirt that says Fat Farm. I'm trying to lose weight now. And of course they spelled it PHAT. And so they were trying to promote that, and they started with t-shirts. That was the thing. It wasn't a whole line. And Russell Simmons was trying to get us to put this on our audience members. And I was like, oh yeah, the kids are going to get free t-shirts and they're going to love it. So, we had opportunities to promote businesses. And you know what's really crazy? Like last year, and I'm going to fast forward. Well, actually, not last year. Like I was always thinking about auditioning for Shark Tank. And I was like, oh, should I do it? And then I kept saying, I want to wait until I have some good numbers to talk about if I'm going to be on the stage. Like I see people with my numbers on Shark Tank, but I wanted numbers like, oh, you're asking for $1 million for 5% of your company? Like you must have some good numbers. And so just last week, I went to California and I auditioned for Shark Tank. It's still so early that I won't know if I got on until Friday. But I look at it like this. You just got to go out there and take a chance. And I said, imagine if I'm sitting on Shark Tank in front of Damon John, and he's one of the people that I had on TV.
Oh my goodness.
And now I'm looking to him to say, hey, you know, invest in me, believe in me. Do you remember when I believed in you?
Right. Oh my goodness.
He's not going to know, but I'm going to remind him, you know, Keith Perrin and J. Alexander Martin and all Bobby Joseph, who made the Fat Albert Fubu collection. Like I put all these dudes on. I remember when P. Diddy was trying to promote Mary J. Blige and he had Jodeci and we wanted Jodeci on. We said, listen, I don't know who this Mary J. is, but we'll put her on if you give us Jodeci. So he said, okay, we'll give you Jodeci for the end of the show, but you at least got to put Mary J. on the beginning of the show. Oh, wow. And I remember we were like, who is this woman? And then years later, when I did Heart and Soul, I had the opportunity to interview Mary when she was a superstar. But I just remember like the Queen Latifahs of the world. And, you know, Queen Latifah, she came on with this big head turban on her head. And we were like, who is this woman that's calling herself Queen Latifah? Like that. And then when we saw how talented she was, we were like, wow. And we knew this lady is going to blow up fast. And now if I needed to get Queen Latifah on the phone, it would be darn near impossible. Okay. It can happen, but it was all of that. We were able to break new people that were unheard of. And now here I am trying to get those same people's attention, you know, and say, hey, can you try my products out? Can you give it a try? Can you then maybe post it on your social media? It hasn't happened yet. It's like, I'm waiting to be able to call somebody like Usher and say, Usher, do you remember me driving you around in a white van all over DC, knocking on people's doors, saying, look, we have a new artist by the name of Usher. And people were like, who is that? And nobody was checking for you. But now, you know, it's almost like the tables are turned. It's almost impossible for me to even have a conversation with them on social media, let alone have a conversation with. I used to talk to Kirk Franklin like it was clockwork. Like, hey, Kirk. So yeah, I just talked to Vicky Latilde, who's the president of the Gospel Centric at the time. We're gonna have you on tomorrow. Oh, this is what you need to wear. This is what you're gonna do when the curtains open. You're gonna do X, Y, Z. And now Kirk Franklin is like a monster superstar. You know what I mean? And he used to call me and say, Sita, such and such and so-and-so. And I'm like, okay, how do I now
flip the script?
You know, go back and try to bring what I have to offer into their world. And, you know, some of my connections, of course, through my dad, are still in existence. So I've been blessed to be able to have some relationships with some celebrities who have helped, you know, at least put the word out, say certain things. When you saw me on Two Funny Mamas, it's because I contacted Kim Whitley, and my dad used to be her executive producer on a show called Oh Drama back in her days, her heyday of doing comedy, even though she's still out there kicking butt.
She is.
When she was first getting started, my dad put her on a show called Oh Drama. And so I always had her number in my phone, and I hadn't called her in like 20 years. And I said, let me see if this is still her same number. And sure enough, within a week, she had put me on her and Sherry Shepherd's podcast that's on YouTube and my numbers exploded. I never did that high of numbers. I had 1,200 orders in one day. The power of the media, of relationships, it's really, really important. I told one of my dad's friends that I was auditioning for Shark Tank. And so he must have like put it out in the world of their world, big businessmen. And then all of a sudden I get a call on Tuesday of last week, and it was Denzel Washington. He said, and this is totally exclusive. This is the first time I'm telling this story because it just happened. But he said, "Hey, this is Shark Tank calling for Sita Lewis. I'm calling to tell you that you're on the show." And I was like, I know your voice. Stop playing.
Wow.
So then we got to talking. He said, "Well, tell me what you talked about in the audition." And he said, "Well, did you tell them that I blessed you with your first mixing machine?" He blessed me with my first mixing machine, the commercial mixing machine. Like when I got out of doing it, like it at my house. It was a big machine. I didn't ask for it. It was just like a blessing that just came out of nowhere in a conversation that he and I were having. But this time, this conversation, he said, "Okay, so I'm going to pray about it." And he is truly a man of God. And he said, "I'm going to pray about it. And I believe that, you're going to be exactly where God wants you to be. And I want you to know right now, I'm saying this right now, that whatever one of those sharks offers you, I'm going to match it dollar for dollar." I'm still blown.
Let me tell you why. Well, let me tell you why. That literally is bringing tears to my eyes. Let me tell you why. Because it's very rare that Black women get that level of support from people to say, "I believe in you, I trust you, and I'm going to do whatever it takes." Because here's the beauty of that. Me working in the beauty industry for 35 years, I have seen people sell their company and it becomes a nightmare.
Right.
Because they don't believe in your vision, they believe in money, and everything changes. Right. So you end up losing your core people, and it's no longer your baby. So if you can, and this is just me talking, if you can keep your business in-house and build out from you without having to use a Shark Tank or any of these investors.
And that's I'm what my ask is. My ask is, and whether you want to do it or not, but this is what I'm asking. I want to be able to maintain the integrity of the products and still be able to scale. Now, if I can scale the business and I create the production house that it comes from, and we ship it directly to consumer, where it's going from our production house to their front doorstep, just like it is now, but we do it in a much bigger capacity. That's what I'm looking for. If you don't want to do it that way, then we don't have a deal, because I don't want to compromise the integrity of the products. And let me tell you, I've gotten so much support from Denzel. He's become like an unofficial godfather to me. I was at the brink of just feeling overwhelmed, totally overwhelmed. And this was literally after I did Two Funny Mamas, the podcast. So it was, I would say it was around November of I did the podcast November of 21. But in October, the orders were coming in and I was just like still in my house, producing from my house. And I said, "Oh my God, I can't keep up, So I'm going to go and I'm going to find a co-packing company that can do what I do. I'm just going to teach them my recipe and they're going to make the products and I'm going to give them the jars and all the packaging and no one's going to know the difference." So I go out to this place that I finally found, and they have products in Whole Foods. They have products here and there. So I know this company seemed like it was reputable. And this is how miraculous I can say God is involved in this business. I'm in the middle of the tour, of this facility, and my phone rings and it's a no caller ID. So I pick it up because I'm always picking up my phone. I don't care what the number, unless it's like constant spam. But If it says no caller ID, I'll still pick it up. And it was Denzel Washington. He called me while I was on that tour. And he said, yeah, what are you doing? I said, you'll never guess. I am. He said, where? You're on vacation? You're in the Caribbean? I was like, no. I said, I'm in this place that does co-packing. And you know what he said to me? He said, I want you to stop. I want you to do an about face, and I want you to walk up out of there.
Oh,
and I said, why do you say it like that? He said, because listen, he said, we use this product because you make this product. We use this product because we love this product. He said, we got choices out here. There's plenty of choices. My wife got a whole closet full of beauty products. And he said, she can pick anything she wants, but she chooses to use Miracle Buttercream. He was like, if you hand that over to another company to make, it is not going to be the same. It has to be under your roof, under your direction. You can get some help, but you ain't going to give that formula up, and you're not going to have other people making it. Mm-hmm. And I remember hanging up the phone. The man that's giving me the tour is looking at me in the face like, who are you talking to? Like, I just totally ignored him and started who's not gonna talk to Denzel Washington when he calls?
Right. Okay?
So I literally said, you know what, sir? I really appreciate the tour. Let me call you back. And I walked out of there. I'll never forget. I walked out of there. I came home and I was feeling a little like down. I was like, wow, but he didn't make any offers to like help me figure out how I was going to do it. But that's the way God intended it for it to be. So I came home and I said, what am I going to do? So I got online and I started looking for real estate places and that I could afford, and that was very slim and few and far between. Mm-hmm. But I said, I'm going to take a chance. And I came across, it was the same night that I was at that place. I came home, I got online, and I found this place that I'm sitting in right now, beautiful building in downtown Hackensack. And when I saw the price, I said, that cannot be right. Let me call the landlord. I'm sure it's gone. I called and the landlord said, oh yeah, it's available. When would you like to come see it? I came to see it like that Friday, and literally the landlord came to my operation at my house. Mm-hmm. And when she saw my operation, she said, no way. I had converted my whole basement at that point into a lab. Mm-hmm. And I had a contractor come in, and I had, a converter where, I had the big commercial machines going. And then she looked at my stock room and she was like, no way did you do all this alone for, I think it was like 3.5 years. I was at that point, 3.5, maybe almost 4 years in. And she said, this is incredible. And then when she tried my product, she's now my customer, my landlord. Mm. So she's an incredible woman from France. And gave me the place, approved me immediately. And literally, I did Two Funny Mamas podcast November the 12th. Now, mind you, I told you it was October when all this was happening. Mm-hmm. I just got my new place December the 1st. Mm-hmm. So I had 1,200 orders that I had to get out, but I didn't have time to move into the new spot. I delivered 1,200 orders from my dining room table. Okay.
To my house, because I was one of the orders.
Yes. And look at God, I moved into my new space December the 1st, and then God was just opening up one door after another, bringing people, employees. This lady prophesied to me and said, somebody's going to knock on your door and ask you for a job. I said, oh, okay, that's like a cliche thing to say. But, I accept anything that people want to say that came from God. Do you know, maybe while I was still working at home, somebody knocked on my door. I thought it was like a Verizon salesperson or something based on how they were dressed, like a black sweatsuit or something. I was like, mm-hmm. No, thank you. And they were like, no, I'm not here soliciting or anything. I saw you walking your dog one day and I just graduated from Notre Dame. I'm looking for a job. I was wondering if you had any positions that you might be able to help lead me to, or I said, oh my goodness. Like what that woman actually said to me happened. So I was really bugging out. Like that's when I knew, like, you know what, this is God's business. I'm just all about God's business. And he just puts me in the seat to run the business. But that's why the business is going the way that it is. And that same girl, her name is Sarah, she worked for me for a whole like year and change. And I knew that she wanted something else. She didn't want, like, she loved making the butter and helping me doing orders. But I think, you know, with her degree, she was looking for something bigger. And I said to her, I said, you know what? I can't offer you all the glitz and glamour that you can get from another job, like, you know, health benefits and, you know, 401k and all that stuff. But what I can do for you is help you find a job that can. And now she's a project manager over at BT. One of my friends that used to be my intern 30 years ago is like a vice president over there now. Hired her just off of my recommendation because she said if Sita recommends her, we know she's good. And she started off as a part-time contractor, and now she's over there running things. And I thought to myself, okay, Lord, what did I just do? I just moved somebody away from me, but I want people that are going to be here to want to be here, to be excited as I am about being here. So here I am. It was just me and two other people. And I knew I needed more, like I needed another Sarah, like somebody that can come in here and really help me like pull the reins of the weight. And just, it was another miracle. God brought two girls at one time. And then it turned into a third. So now there's like 6 of us here just cranking out. And I was able to take the business from that level there to now having numbers that I think are worthy enough to go on a Shark Tank. And you know what? If they don't pick me, it's okay. That's why I'm okay with talking about it, saying, hey, yeah, I went to California by myself. I got in line with 500 people. And that's what we have to do. You have to make the first step. And, you know, God says faith without works is dead. You got to do something. And then he'll decide, he'll let you know if that's going to be your fate or your destiny. You know, I was out there, and if they pick me, they pick me. If they don't, they don't. I'm still going to build this business into the billion-dollar business that I see it can become. And that, you know, what's funny about what Denzel said in that same conversation when he said, I'll match any shark dollar for dollar. He said, I already can see this company becoming $1 billion business, and I want in. I heard that. And that, I mean, like, I literally was in tears. He didn't know it, but I was in tears on the other end of the phone because I said, you know, I have people like this in my corner that I don't go asking them for anything. If they see my work ethic and they see where the business has come from and they see on their own, and then they want in, that's who I want to partner with.
Well, I know it was Mary J. Blige and Will Smith who invested in Carol's daughter and a couple of other people, and they gave her a huge chunk of change.
Yeah, and they did. And you know what else was an incredible part of my story? Terry Williams, who is an incredible publicist, she was somebody that I knew in my circle. She believed in my products. She believed in what I was doing. And she used to be the publicist for Lisa Price, who owned Carol's daughter. And she said, I'm going to get you a meeting with Lisa. Okay, we're going to work on that, blah, blah, blah. So she was doing her thing. I was doing my thing behind the scenes. All of a sudden, I get an email back from Lisa Price saying, yeah, I'll take a meeting with you on such and such a date over the phone. And I said, okay, well, if that's all I can get is over the phone, then I'll take over the phone. So I told Terry Williams, I said, Terry, you know, I did get in touch with Lisa, and she told me that she can do a meeting with me over the phone, and it's going to be tomorrow. And Terry was like, what? Tomorrow? And it's over the phone. Does she know who you are? And I was like, well, I told her.
I'm so glad you can't see my face right now.
Does she she said, does she know who you are? And I said, well, I mean, I told her I'm Sita Lewis, and that doesn't ring a bell, but to everybody, because nobody knows who I am. And she's like, that's not what I mean. So she said, I'm going to call her right now. So I guess whatever she told her. So Lisa Price said, well, I broke my foot and at home, like incapacitated. Harry said, I don't care what you got going on. You need to see this woman face to face. I took the meeting in her bedroom, while her leg was propped up. And I remember it was so inspiring because when I finished telling her about my business, she said, it's a lot of people who come and sit with me and talk to me and take meetings, and I've done what you're doing. And it's very rare that I hear one that I feel like is going to make it. Your business is going to make it. And that was 2018. I was only 1 year in because I started in 2017. But just to hear that from a Lisa Price, like she left me, then she started buying my products. It was like fate. I kept bumping into her. Then she took a meeting with me downtown New York. And she told me about how, she was still working for L'Oreal, even though she sold the company to L'Oreal.
I had a meeting once with her and L'Oreal.
Oh, okay.
I did some consulting with her. One consulting meeting. Yeah. That's one reason why I'm like, keep it at home.
And that was one of those products that I used to use when she first started. She was my go-to. And then and
Miss Jessie's was the other one out of New York.
Oh yeah, I used to love the curly pudding, the purple one.
Yes, we were excited when we in St. Louis. There's something for us.
Yes, I mean, and the baby butter to use for the tight ponytails, which is what I wear every day, which is what I have right now. Now I use miracle buttercream in my hair, but yes, we didn't have I used to just be so excited to be able to support a Black company, to get a product that was tailored for us. Right. And you're right. And then all of a sudden it gets sold. Yes. And then you're like, what happened? Even with Shea Moisture, there's some products that I'll still purchase from Shea Moisture, but it's owned by Unilever. Okay. Nothing against Unilever, but it changed over the years.
Because the ingredient, like you said, it's not about price, it's about the ingredients. The ingredients changed.
Right. And they have to see, for mass marketing, you have to be able to create products that are considered stable. And stable means that you can put them on a truck, you can ship them across the country, they can sit outside, they can go inside, they have a 2-year, 3-year shelf life. I mean, they can go in Target, Walmart, department stores, you name it. And with natural products, it's like food. You have to treat it like food. If it does scale, you have to ship it in a cold truck. It has to go into a Whole Foods or a store that carries groceries, but they don't make cool sections for body products, right? So now we have to blaze some trails that aren't really there. We have to say, hey, listen, we want a cold section in the body care section. And I believe that that's something that we can do eventually. Like you can walk into Neiman Marcus and you'll be able to say, oh, they have like a refrigerated section in the cosmetic department. Okay, what is this?
Well, all I'm going to say, Miss Sita, is make it happen.
Absolutely, it can happen. And I believe I'm going to be the person that makes it happen.
Because listen, all I can say is call a refrigeration company right now and say, how can we make these to go into these stores? Right. Let that be your innovation and be the thing that makes you different, as you are innovating the items that you need to take your products mass market, because you don't want to compromise your products. And if
these department stores see that people will purchase, they will make space for those refrigerated areas. And if you deck them out to look, innovative and cool, like it could be like a little glass front with the sliding door, but it could look like it's in a little bubble capsule, time machine capsule or something, and your products are sitting on the shelf. I know one thing, if I was walking through the cosmetic department of Neiman Marcus or Bloomingdale's, I would be like, hold up, what's that? And I would roll right on over there, and check it out. If they can sell cupcakes, I was at the airport the other day when I was going for Shark Tank. I'm at the airport and they had a cupcake machine. It was a vending machine. I said, wow. I looked at that. I took a picture of it and everything. I said, if they can vend a cupcake, I can surely get my products all over this world.
Yes, 100%. And the technology is there. The availability is there. You just have to make it happen. But you've got all these miracles that are happening around your life. And it's a beautiful thing to see. And I think it's a powerful story. I mean, it's truly your superpower because you are truly making this happen.
Thank you for listening to Black Women Amplified. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to subscribe and log on to blackwomenamplified.com for more information. Keep shining.